Hi everybody, it's Tatiana, and I'm like literally, if you follow me on Instagram, it is Sunday the 16th. I just posted that I went and got a Slurpee, and I posted that I was gonna come home and do a couple of videos because it's been a good day and I'm feeling in a good way. And I legit almost disrobed and got relaxed and totally forgot. No. I also said these pearls were not gonna be living on YouTube forever and ever, amen, because your girl can't stand wearing pearls. Okay, hi. Today I'm coming to do my January wrap up, and as usual I need my planner and I don't have it. Hold please. Now I am hoping to keep this short because it's already tardy, but I do have 2 of the 4 books that I read in the month of January that I want to talk a little bit more about. So if I need to split this up, that's what's going to happen. And I have not figured out yet how to add like a text screen at the end of the video. So yeah, if it just cuts off, there are 2 parts. Just let you know that now. So I read Born of Legend by Sherrilyn Kenyon, which I have already done a review of, and it is part of her The League Nemesis Rising series. I just have been calling it the Born Of series forever. It wasn't until I started using Libby that I realized that it had a whole different name to the series other than the Born Of series. But yeah, that is like space opera, sorta, kinda romance with a huge conflict that's going on between different planets, organizations, and species. It's like Star Wars, like frillied up a little bit. I don't want to say frillied up, but that's really what it is. So anyway, read that, have done a review of it. I need to go and read the second one, the next one, but I don't know when that's going to happen because I tend to read this series. I am strictly reading via audiobook. I also read 3 Christmas Wishes by, I'm spacing on the author's name, Sheila Wallace. Is that correct? I don't know. I'm spacing on the author's name. I'll try to remember to put a caption. Which I thoroughly enjoyed, and she is on my list of authors to continue to try different stories from. I really enjoyed that. It followed 3 women who were at living 3 different kinds of lives at 3 different points in their lives. They're all friends, and just them dealing with some of the difficulties that they are feeling and experiencing in their love life, in their work life, in their social life, and how they're dealing with that, and also how they're maintaining their friendship and supporting each other. And it was just a really enjoyable Christmas read. Like, Christmas was part of the story. It was a major part of the story, and I just really enjoyed that. So yeah, that's the other book I read. I've also read Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Morena Garcia, and this is one of the books that I wanted to talk a little bit more about, and I gave it 3 stars. That might end up changing to go up, because the more I think about it, the more there are things that I liked about it. The main thing that I did not care about in this story is that it's a vampire story set in Mexico, particularly in Mexico City, and the main male character meets a vampire, and it's like somebody who loves vampires, like me, meeting a vampire and then learning what the difference are between the myths that you've come to believe about the vampire and what a vampire truly is. And in bridging that gap for Domingo, the main male character, it was like he was doing a lot of what would be called race-splaining, I think, to Adol, asking some personal questions and having Adel display for him some things that she is able to do, or what her culture is as a vampire in what seems to be this short period. That's the main thing that I did not care about that, because it really felt like it was putting Adel on display, which part, yes, is the point of the story, but the way that it goes, that it happens, it was just something about it that just did not mesh completely with me. But all of that aside, I truly enjoyed the story. I loved the different kinds of vampires that is it Moreno Garcia that the author introduces in this story. And I say introduce like it's the beginning of a series. It's not. It's a standalone. And as I have looked into more of her books, because I want to read more from her as a result of reading this, I am thinking she might end up being my standalone queen, because I don't know if she's ever written a series. And she's got quite a few books, and I believe they're all standalones. Yay. But yeah, I also enjoyed just traveling through Mexico City, even though I've never been there. The way that the landscape and the streets are explained, it's kind of like you're getting a map in words of what Mexico City looks like, and how all of these people are connected yet not connected. Adel, when you first meet her, seems like this very docile person, but then you learn a little bit about her history and what she's experienced, and you learn that she can be just as vicious as some of the other vampires, and you learn how vampires relate to each other. And even though there are different kinds of vampires and they don't necessarily mix with each other, just like with humans and what we see in society on a regular basis, there are connections that are made between vampires that help them throughout their lifespan. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. And again, I rated it 3 stars. I may end up moving it up, because I want to say the only thing that I didn't care for is Domingo asking Adel all of these personal questions, and like putting Adel on display as the spokesperson for all vampiredom to help demystify what he has come to think vampires are based on what he's seen in comics and books and things that he's read. So yeah, that was Certain Dark Things. And then the only book that I read in January that I owned is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I have owned this book since it came out, and dealing with new setup again, so I don't know what this looks like in the camera, because I don't have a little flip up situation where I can see the viewfinder or the screen as I'm filming. So if there's a huge obnoxious glare, my apologies. I'm keeping this up for the purpose of the fact that this setup is new and I need to figure it out. So again, my apologies. But I delayed in reading this because this is a duology, which scares me, because oftentimes I say it a lot when speaking about sequels. I call it sequel suckage, where the second book in a series may not necessarily be terrible, but it's nowhere near as good as the first book was. And after you read it, you have you're somewhere between ambivalent and you might want to know what happens next, but you really don't. It's like ambivalent is the more present feeling. And so I was scared to see how I was going to feel about this, knowing that it was a duology, but also wanting to know where we go in this story and what happens with Laszlo after the discoveries from book 1. Now, of course, because this is a sequel, there aren't too many things that I can tell you. If you haven't read book 1, that would not be spoiler. So this is what I will say about Muse of Nightmares. It's amazing. This was my first 5-star read, and if you will check, I am back to using stars, because I think after 2 years of not using stars, I got my review method down point and I'm good. But this was my first. I loved this book of 2020. I absolutely loved the relationships that are developing, how Laszlo is someone who is on the fringes of society in the first book, and it's not that he has this huge change in how he is viewed by the time we get to the second book. Laszlo is still Laszlo, and Laszlo is still true to himself. And out of everything else, coupled with Laini Taylor's beautiful writing and her awesome way of telling a story and sucking you in and just making you want to care about these characters, even the characters you don't want to care about, coming to understand how they got to be how they are, and then the opportunities that she provides for a little bit of resolution, a little bit of hope. And I do really like the thing that I really loved about this is that there are allusions to other stories that she has told and other stories that are coming in this book. And so with the hope that comes with how relationships are handled in this duology, as well as the journeys that begin with this duology, even though this story is finished, it's the promise of more to come. And that is just beautiful. It's awesome. So that is everything that I read in the month of January. Thank you all for watching. For those of you who are newly subscribed to my channel, hi. Thank you for subscribing. And yeah, I'm going to try to, by the end of the first quarter of 2020, I'm going to be realistic. By the end of the first quarter, my hope is to not necessarily be so tardy with everything. Because, right, it's the middle of February and I'm just getting my January wrap-up recorded. Who knows when this is going to be uploaded. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a good weekend, whenever you see this video. Peace out.